We're isolated here in Toronto in our own little world, and there's not a lot of big names popping by, and it's quiet and we can focus. And so this is sort of like our like army base offshore that we like train for war in, and then when we're ready we go to war, and no one sees it coming because we're not training in front of anybody's eyes. From an art standpoint, I wanted people to walk in that door and be overwhelmed. I wanted the city to feel a part of this place, and I wanted it to be a very creative atmosphere. So when you walk through those doors, immediately like you feel comfortable being creative, and that creativity is accepted in this space. And then from a technical standpoint, this place is very unique because I built this out of passion. I didn't build this off a business plan. This place is here to make history. It's not here to make money.
These days, I'm letting God handle all things above me.
I think anybody else would be crazy to do what I've done here unless their goal was to make literally the craziest production room ever. And that's what this is, you know? It's a production room. This room is built around complete control and machine because that's what this room's for. You come in here to create music. You can come into this place and literally bring your laptop, and I plug in 2 cables, and all of a sudden, boom, you're hooked up to machine, you're hooked up to complete control, you're hooked up to all the screens, you're hooked up to all the keyboards, you're hooked up to the console. You won't see many studios that have these pieces embedded into the systems the way I do, because I'm a producer, so I built this from the standpoint of a producer. One of my things about making music is it being easy. Some of the most amazing music I've ever made, people have come into the studio, sat down, and in the first 10 minutes, they do this, they do that, and I'm like, cool, we're done. And they look at me like, what? And I'm like, no, that's it. Like, we did it. Trust me, this is all we need. I'll turn this into something really special. Those are the most amazing pieces of music I've ever made. When it comes to Drake, my objective is to make the artist the #1 priority at any cost. My goal is to make them happy. As much as I want to have integrity in the work that I'm doing, I want to make sure they're getting what they want, because they're the ones that have to go on stage and perform it. They're the ones who have to carry that record for the rest of their lives and their careers.
I love you through everything.
I'm notorious for this, like, you know, very lo-fi, you know, underwater sound. People usually assume that it's a low-pass filter, and then I'm just rolling off all the top end. But for the most part, I'm actually degrading the sample rate, so I'm removing those frequencies from the top end. They're not even getting sampled in the first place. They don't even exist. When you would take out that pristine high end and sort of lower the sample rate, it would become a little more authentic, almost different, like it was sampled or like it was taken from somewhere. And the most important reason was back to what I was talking about focusing on an artist versus focusing on myself as a producer. So instead of focusing on my music, I was carving out an entire space and the frequencies. So the artist occupies the top end completely, almost exclusively, and the music sits in the bottom end. In a way that nobody would do it. Anybody would say, you know, absolutely not, you cannot do that. That is against the rules. I'm sorry. We will not release this song. It sounds horrible. Where's all the top end? It was just me and Drake wanting to do something different and to make a sound that we felt like was unique, and it really resonated with people. But that's also the co-production of Drake on that level, because he is a producer by any means, and he's also responsible for that simplicity, and he's also responsible for a lot of the sound that I'm, you know, Harold is creating, but, you know, we created together. I have so much around me. I have so many resources. I have so many tools. I have so many sounds. I have so many options, and it can become very overwhelming. And that's actually somewhere where machine really helps, because it's like a starting point that is very well organized and basic from the sense of its workflow. I know how to start, I can get going, I don't have to think too much about all the other things in the room, and then I can build off it. I use it a lot, like whether it be at the beginning of my process or at the end of my process. For instance, on 30 for 30, which is a record put out on the Drake and Future project, at the very end of the project, I felt like it needed a little more something in that record. So, you know, I pulled out Machine and locked it up and tap, 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 done. So it's like a great closer for me, but it also is the starting point for me as well. I'll just open it with the metronome so that click is driving the real tempo of the session. And I'll create some keys around that. I like starting with music more so than I like starting with programming of drums. I like the feel of the music to sort of dictate where the drum programming goes, which is really unorthodox, especially in hip hop. Almost all producers will start with the drum programming. I work in the sort of opposite direction. So I will, though, program against a click at the beginning, and then I just start adding. And one of the great parts about Machine in my workflow is that once you program something, you can flip drum banks. And you can just keep flipping banks. I find myself doing a lot of the editing within it itself. Now it's so much easier, it's so much faster, it's so much more intuitive. It helps me create better. And I believe it's a fundamental part of helping the whole process of making music develop. Simplicity with authenticity at the same time is so difficult. So to make something simple but good is extremely difficult. But simple usually translates to real because there's not too much. It's not overdone. Whereas the simplicity factor is like, hey, this is it. This is my heart on my sleeve. This is all I got. Take it or leave it. It's real. This is me. This is us.
These days, I'm letting God handle all things above me. The things I can't change are the reason you love me.